Hi everyone, I'm Mrs. LaPlaca, and today we're going to learn how to create a zoom effect on still photographs in Adobe Premiere using keyframes. This panning and zooming effect used in video production from still imagery is often referred to as the Ken Burns effect. Though this effect was used before Ken Burns adopted it into his filmmaking, his extensive use of it in his documentaries has led others to connect the effect to his name. The Ken Burns effect is especially useful when a video producer does not have enough video to cover their story. The zooming and panning across photographs gives the feeling of motion and keeps the viewer visually engaged. We often use this effect on photographs that we receive for our Bulldog Buddy segments that appear on the Morning Buzz. Now let's create a zoom effect using keyframes in Adobe Premiere Pro. For the purposes of mirroring your window to mine, make sure you have your window set to editing. Just as you would import all of your project's video clips into Adobe Premiere to begin editing, you will do the same here with photographs or still images. Before dragging any photos onto my timeline, I'm going to make sure that my timeline matches the sequence settings that I need for my project. For Bulldog TV classes, we always want to match our sequence settings to the clip settings of our primary video. All that you need to know right now is to match the settings to the clip that contains your voiceover. For now, you can use the sample video host file found in this project's folder on the video drive. Match the settings, then delete the sample video. Now let's create a zoom effect. Zoom in refers to seemingly approaching the subject, thus making it look bigger in the frame. Zoom out refers to seemingly distancing the subject, thus making it look smaller. You can create this effect on a still photograph in Adobe Premiere using keyframes. Drag your photo onto the timeline. This is Ranger. Isn't he cute? Anyway, let's make this clip 5 seconds long. I know how long it is by expanding my timeline to see the length of time here. Now bring your timeline cursor to the very first frame of your clip. Highlight the clip in the timeline. Now go to the upper left-hand corner and click on Effect Controls. If it isn't already open, click on the triangle next to Motion to expand your options. Notice that next to Position, Scale, and Rotation, there are these little circles that look like clocks. Since we are creating a zoom, we are going to play with the scale. Scale refers to the size of the clip in the frame. Click on the little clock next to Scale. That will highlight it blue. Now you know that you can start using what's called keyframes. Over to the right, you can see that you have created a starting point for your movement. This point corresponds to that same spot on your timeline. This is called a keyframe. Keyframes are like checkpoints on a map. This is where you start your navigation. With keyframes, you are navigating time. You are telling Premiere this is how big you want your image to be at this point in time. Now, to create a zoom in, let's go back to your timeline. Bring your cursor to the last frame of your picture at 5 seconds in. You can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move the cursor frame by frame. Now that you have your position, go back up to your effect controls. Let's increase the scale by 10. You have now created a zoom in effect. The number where your starting point is smaller than the number where your ending point is. Notice that if you extend your clip to 10 seconds, your movement will stop at 5 seconds. If you move this same keyframe to the last frame at 10 seconds, the movement will be more subtle. The picture will move slower because it is traveling the same distance over a longer period of time. If you wanted a faster zoom, you could increase the difference between your keyframes. Meanwhile, to create a zoom out effect, you would need to go from a higher scale to a smaller one. It's the same idea. I'll make my first keyframe 130 and my last one 30. Let's say that for the first 5 seconds we want to zoom out, then we want to zoom back in for the last 5 seconds. We can do that too. We just need to add another keyframe, pit stop, or point on your time map. I'm going to go from 130 to 80 back up to 100. Then we need to make sure that that last keyframe is larger than the middle one. There you go, great job. You've created a zoom effect in Adobe Premiere using keyframes. Now watch video 2 of this tutorial series to learn how to create a pan effect using the same technique.